Hello and welcome back. Now in the last video we created a data table, and in this video we are in the onConstruction function where we've created an F string that we've populated with the path to the data table in Unreal Engine, and we've created a UData table that we've initialized using static load object. Now, we're checking to see if that is valid, and we're now ready to access the contents of the data table rows. So to do that, we need to do the following. We're going to create a local variable of type f item rarity table. Now, this is going to be a pointer, and we're going to call this rarity row, and we'll set it equal to null pointer. At first, this is a pointer to an f item rarity table struct. Remember, we created this in item.h all the way up here at the top when we declared the struct f item rarity table. It's a struct with all these variables in it. So we're creating a local variable of this type. Now, we need to get a row from the data table, and the row we need to get depends on our item rarity. We only want to get the row corresponding to the rarity of this given item. Now, if we go back to item.h and do a search for item rarity, you'll recall that we created a enum called item rarity of type e item rarity. We did this some videos back. So each item has its own item rarity enum value. Now, we're going to do a switch statement to switch on item rarity, and whichever case we're in, that's going to tell us which row we need to get from the data table. So I'm going to do a switch on item rarity. Now we're going to have several cases. We're going to have the case for E item rarity damaged. That's the lowest rarity, and we're going to need a break for this. And then we'll have a case for the next item rarity, which is common. So that's for the common case. Next, we'll have the case for uncommon. Next, we'll have the case for rare. And next, we'll have the case for legendary. So here is our switch statement. We have each of the cases: damaged, common, uncommon, rare, and legendary. Looks like I need a colon there. That's why it was giving me an error. So here is a switch statement on item rarity. Okay, now depending on which case we're in, we want a different row from our data table. And that's going to determine what we populate our rarity row struct with. So let's start with damaged. For damage, we're going to set rarity row equal to something, and what we're going to get to set this value is the following. Remember, we have this rarity table object that we created using the path to our data table blueprint. So we're going to use that. We're going to say rarity table object, and we're going to call find row. Now, find row is a template function, so it requires a f table row base. We're going to use our f item rarity table. That way, this find row function will return an f item rarity table. Now, find row requires a row name, so this needs to be an f name. And the row name for the damaged row is called damaged. Now it's asking for a context string, and we don't really need to use this context string, so we can simply pass in an empty string. And the last parameter is called warn if row missing. It's true by default, so we can leave that to true. It just says we get a warning if we're trying to get a row that's missing. So we can give this a semicolon, and this will give us a row from our data table, and we're going to populate rarity row with that. Now find row returns the address of the F item rarity table, which is why rarity row is a pointer. Now this is going to be exactly the same for each of these cases. The only difference, of course, will be the name of the row that we're accessing. So for common, we're going to get the row called common. These are the row names we gave our data table in the data table blueprint. For uncommon, we're going to give the name uncommon. For rare, we're going to use rare. And for legendary, we're going to use legendary. So at the end of this switch statement, depending on our item rarity value, our rarity row will have a row from our data table corresponding to the name that we gave it. Now remember, let's go back into the editor and look at our data table. Right here, we gave our row a row name. This is the name we're accessing in this call to find row. So now that we have a data table row in our rarity row pointer, we can then use it. So when our switch statement is over, we're going to first check to make sure rarity row is valid. If it's valid, now we have a data table row and we can access values from it. So let's go ahead and get those values. And if we want to refresh our memory, we can go back in here and see the values. We have a value called glow color. That's an F linear color. We have light color, dark color, number of stars, and icon background. So what are we going to do with these values? Well, why don't we go back to item.h and create some variables to store these values in. So let's go to our private section and create some variables. So I'm going to create a F linear color, and I'm going to call this glow color. I'll give it a U property, and we're setting this in C++, so we don't want to set it from blueprints. We're going to make it edit anywhere, blueprint, read only, and the category is going to be rarity. And I'll give this the meta allow private access equals true. And we're going to use this for the color in the glow material. Now I'm going to copy this and create another linear color. And this one I'm going to call light color. And I'm going to give this a comment and say light color in the pickup widget. I'm going to create another one called dark color. And this will be the dark color in the pickup widget. Now let's create an int32 called number of stars. And this is going to have the same U property as our other variables. And I'll give this a comment and say number of stars in the pickup widget. Now let's create a U texture 2D, and that's a pointer, and this is going to be called icon background, and I'll give it the same U property. And for this, the comment is going to say background icon for the inventory. So we have these variables on the item class. We can set these here in the construction script using our rarity row. So how are we going to get the values from that data table row? Well, we can do them as follows. We have our glow color. We can set it equal to rarity row using arrow notation because it's a pointer. And take a look, we have access to these variables on the row. So this is going to be glow color. Light color, we're going to set to rarity row, light color. Dark color is going to be set to rarity row, dark color. Number of stars will be set to rarity row number of stars. And icon background is going to be set to rarity row icon background. So now here in the construction script, we're doing a switch on our item rarity enum, and based on that value, we're loading a rarity row, a row from our data table, and we're going to get the values from that data table and populate variables in our C++ class. Now, since we put all these new variables in the category of rarity, I'd also like to use this same category for the enum item rarity. So I'm going to go back to where we declared item rarity, and I'm going to use the category rarity for that. Now we can go ahead and compile this. Now I'm getting an error that says member variable declaration icon background cannot be defined in item as it is already defined in scope shooter.item, and that's because we declared the same variable twice. So I'm going to search for icon background, and right here we have the icon background variable way up here. So we already have the icon background variable. We can't declare it twice, and we don't need to. We already have it here. So since we've declared it twice, I'm going to keep this one down here, and I'm going to scroll up to the one we declared in a previous video. This one's edit anywhere, but we don't need that anymore. We're going to set this using the data table. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. So we'll have the one that we declared down here. So I'm going to go ahead and compile this again. Okay, so we've compiled and now we're back in the editor. Now let's take a look at the effect that changing our enum for rarity has on the item. So we're going to select this weapon in the world, and in the details panel I'm going to select the search details and search for rarity. And now we have this item rarity, that's our enum that we already had, but we also have glow color, light color, dark color, number of stars, and icon background. Now, if I select our item rarity and change it, now all of these other variables are changing because we are changing a property on this class, and whenever we change something, the onConstruction function gets called. It's like the construction script. And because we're calling onConstruction, we are accessing the data table here in onConstruction, switching on item rarity, loading a row from our data table depending on the switch case, and then if that's valid, we're setting these variables on the class. So this is very handy because we have a nice data table, which is a really easy way to store information and organize it in a sort of spreadsheet style manner, and that allows us to go ahead and update variables by loading in data from the data table. So that's going to conclude this video. In the next video, we're going to start using some of these variables so that we can see the effect in the game based on data that we're changing. So see you in the next video.